Alright, here we go. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties, but everything should be good now. So we've got a matchup of TSM and TCL for the RTS League. I'm TOA Raifang, going to be casting today. I'm also a player myself, so I've got some strategic insights I can provide. And then in terms of the matchup, the first map was TSM's pick, which is Mediterranean, which key characteristic of that is the large water in the center. We'll see a lot of fighting on the water early on, and then players will eventually transition off to the sides. In terms of matchup civ-wise, we've got double Zeus Uranus versus double Uranus Zeus, so a lot of mirror action going on there. Ultimately, as the game goes on, the double Zeus matchup for TSM is going to be stronger later in the game because of Greek strength. However, the double Uranus early on can do some damage water with their faster ships and shockwave god powers, and then also pressure on land a bit more easily than the Greek players. But then the downside is the Zeus players might have double restoration at their disposal. And then the double restoration in large team fights can be pretty strong, so we'll see how things play out. TCL is going to be at the bottom, whereas TSM is going to be at the top. So you'll see the fighting down here and then up here. Up top, the town centers have some decent separation. Pink's is pretty close to him, and Blue's is pretty close to him, so you've got a large distance in between, as well as some decent trees providing some cover on both sides. Down in the bottom, it's a bit different in that the town centers, Red's particularly, is pretty far away from him, and then the town centers in general are a bit closer, and it's a bit more open width-wise for the land, so I expect to see more action on the bottom. The other thing you always want to note on this map as a player is where the town center position is relative to the water, because in team games especially, you're going to get games that drag on later into the game, and then at that point siege ships come into play, especially with the mythic range upgrade. So any town centers within water range become extremely vulnerable. So this town center here, for example, can very easily be taken out by siege ships later in the game, which would then put green down 20 population, which can be a huge difference. So if you do have town centers in water range, you're more inclined to fight and win water and control water as the game goes on, because you know if you don't, later on you're just going to lose a town center very easily. So very quick classical out of TSM player, the Zeus player, also going Hermes and not Athena, so he'll have Ceasefire at his disposal, but no restoration there. Fen, the other Zeus player, also with the quick classical. All the Zeus players hitting classical relatively early. Alright, here we go. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties. Sorry about that playback on the stream. It's delayed a few minutes, so that's why it was just kicking in now. So already player knocking Skyfire off the water. Skyfire is up, but alright, there he goes. The production's kicking in. But some decent early damage from player knocking off a few fishing ships. TCL coming in to help. Yellow's pretty far away, so a bit of a down at the bottom. Some fighting there. Red knocking green off, so slight early edge to TSM with slightly quicker advancements, and then being the aggressor, if you can knock your opponent off of his fishing a bit, you gain a slight economic advantage. Other thing to note is with the ships, the Greek arrow ships have a larger range, so you see the 16 range down here, whereas the Atlantean ships only have a range of 12. So if you micro that effectively, you can use that advantage. However, the Atlantean ships do have a bit of a speed advantage to make up for their lesser cost or lesser hit points, and they get a speed boost to help them out. Get a general sense of the upgrades real quick while we've got to pause. Alright. Quick economic upgrade analysis shows blue's the only player with both upgrades, whereas red has nothing and green does have something, so green might get a little bit of advantage as he pushes on since he does have the upgrade, but then again, red got the slightly faster up and knocked green off his fishing a bit, and if you can get these ones out here in the open, that would be nice. Those are kind of vulnerable being that far out, but red hasn't noticed yet. Down here they're still fighting for position, but I think they knocked purple off of these fish as well, so both teams have a restoration god power available. Both yellow and teal went Athena, so more than likely you'll see them being used at the same time. If one side goes to use one, the other will counter with it. But it does look like blue and yellow have a bit of an advantage ship number wise. Purple's got some more ships out there, but green using the speed of the Atlantean ships to do a bit of raiding, which is nice. Can do some damage. Yeah, picking off a 23 food fishing ship, that's really nice. That ship won't give any advantage going off forward because now it's dead, and then if you knock them off, you're basically knocking 6 villagers. Still basic trading, and nobody's made the move for land yet. I'll be keeping an eye on that, although one move is player just took a second town center, so as the game moves on, that'll give them a nice economic boost. Okay, Fen's also taking a town center. This could be a sign that TSM is planning to give up water. They could still theoretically press it and try to use the 2-town center economy to win it, but often taking an early second town center on land is an indication that you want to give up water and transition to land instead. So we'll see how it plays out. There we go. Restoration used. TCL choosing to run instead of counter with their own restoration, which I actually like, especially if you've got the Atlantean ships that can get away quicker. Restoration's most effective when you can force your opponent into fighting. Otherwise they can just run away like they just did there, but TCL saving restoration for later. They could potentially use it when they have TSM trapped. Purple taking a bit of damage there and getting cornered. Teal backed off successfully and has a larger army. Purple's been helping green at the bottom here a bit, which was good because red had a decent advantage over green, so I like the fact that purple's helping down there, realizing that. Red still looks like he has the advantage though. Teal and purple still haven't transitioned to their second town centers on land though, so that concerns me a bit, especially as blue moves into his third town center, and yellow as well. Add on the fact that both those players are Greek, and that's going to allow them to boom significantly, get to late game as Greek, and then against 2 Atlanteans, Greek's just going to overwhelm them. Their units are that much stronger late game, so I'd like to see TCL win water at this point, otherwise they're going to be in some trouble. They are taking their second town centers, but when you're taking your second town center that late, when your opponent already has his third town center up, it's going to be hard to come back unless you win water. Which they don't exactly seem to be doing, and green's taking quite a bit of a loss here in terms of his fishing ships. And once you lose them at this point, you're not going to be rebuilding them, so that's pretty costly. Looks like yellow was able to save most of his. Garrison them up. Another thing with Zeus to look out for is once they get heroic, the scale has come into play. Doesn't look like either Fen or player is going heroic yet, but once they do, that'll pretty much seal the deal for water. Red continues to dominate green pretty hard down here, water-wise. Oh, it does look like green was raiding, but that's just 7 ships with decent damage. So, water generally has been a stalemate. I'll give TSM a slight advantage in that I think they've done more damage fishing ship wise. Green's got very little fishing ships left. Purple was knocked off early and hasn't really been fishing most of the game. Whereas player's been pretty much safe, and Fen's done a decent job of hiding or garrisoning his ships whenever Green raided him. Red doesn't seem to have much fishing going himself though, so I guess that cancels out with Green a bit. And then Red also took his second town center much later than Green, so Green might actually have the advantage on land on this side because of that fact. What concerns me for TCL is the fact that both Fen and player have been on 3 town centers for so long, and then player has map control on this side as well, with his army down here moving freely, whereas purple really doesn't even have an army yet, just Prometheans. And he's gonna knock purple off gold soon. Purple's got this extra gold down here, so he should be okay, but any damage at this point is extremely harsh for the Atlantean player. Because as the game moves on and the Greek player gets later and gets a stronger economy and boom going, it's just going to be harder for the Atlantean player to stop him. The Atlantean advantage is early on in Classical, so if he's getting knocked off gold and at a disadvantage now in Classical, it's not going to get any better for him as the game moves on. Add in the fact that I don't think, or I guess one town center for TSM is in water range. TCL ultimately won water, but I think it came too late. I'd like to see Teal helping purple a bit, but it looks like Teal's still fully invested into water. Like, super invested. 10 ships there. Yeah, 30 arrow ships for Teal at the moment. Meanwhile, blue's just pushing in purple on land. What's Fen planning to do? Does he have a land presence anywhere? Looks like Fen's still sticking mostly to water. None of the players have reached heroic yet either, so... Yeah, so that's the other thing with land control that blue put on, is he can take purple's 3rd town center, which then becomes extremely hard to retake if blue can fortify that position. Red getting some nice raiding going down here. Purple trapping blue, but blue's still got the better numbers here, so purple's going to be the one retreating. See a dead villager there. Now purple has the advantage, so he'll be able to take a decent trade here if blue fights instead of running. Blue's got his other half of his army there. Alright, so all 3 Zeus players in the game have reached Turek. And all 3 won Apollo, so we won't be seeing any Scalas on water. At this point, what's going on in water, it looks like, is just Yellow's been running around trying to survive and harass as much as possible while getting worn down, so TCL's won water, but at what cost is the question, because Blue's pushing in on land. Blue has a 4th town center. TL really hasn't even alright, now TL's transitioning to land finally, but we're 16 minutes in. These 30 ships aren't really doing much. They secured him, what, 10 fishing ships? There's no restoration left for TSM. Am I missing something? I guess Purple lost his army during the fight down here. Blue was able to trade that effectively. Just looking around, there's nothing that's going to stop Blue from killing this town center right now. He's got enough hoplites and hippie Meanwhile, Purple's got all of 6 units out, so... Teal's got in production buildings up, but he's got 2 hippie out, and he's population blocked because he hasn't deleted his arrow ship, so... I'm extremely surprised Blue just backed out there. 7 units from Purple weren't going to stop him from killing that town center. So just something to note, TL took Green's 2nd town center, so TL has 3 town centers, whereas Green's going to be playing with only 2 town centers as a result of Blue taking this one here. Yeah, a little surprised by that decision to go for the docks instead of just pushing the town center, especially when TL had so much committed to water still. And it's not like Purple's really got that many fishing ships out either. It looks like he's got all of 5, so it's not like he's getting that much of an economy advantage from that. Alright, so Blue and Yellow are now mythic, so they're gonna get the free armory upgrades soon. Meanwhile, Purple's still classical, so... Yellow, I don't know what Yellow's planning on doing. I guess Colossus spam. Yeah, there we go. Yellow's just been sitting back on 3 town centers the whole game without really engaging much. Blue's been pretty much winning this 2 versus 1, although TL hasn't provided that much help on land as he's been so committed to water. Town center will live for now, but Siege will be able to take it out pretty easily. See if they, yeah. Don't know if Blue's completed the armory upgrade yet, but you can see him building the 4 armories, getting ready to crank upgrades out. Blue's also going for a Titan, which is a bit uncalled for. He can easily just push through Purple with his armory upgrades and 4 town center advantage. Purple's still classical, so he's not going to be able to put up much of a fight against mythic level upgraded units. You see a decent bit of trade out for Blue and Yellow, whereas TCL still doesn't have any trade. Trade's extremely useful in team games, and I miss this getting pushed by Atlantis down at the bottom. I missed it because I was focusing on the top so much where purple was getting killed, but I'm guessing red probably got heroic faster. And then in an Atlantean Uranus mirror matchup, whoever gets heroic faster and can get out destroyers and dryads is going to have the advantage, so I'm guessing that's what happened, and red was able to push through with his destroyer dryad advantage. Another thing to note was green was playing on 2 town centers because TL took his third as a result of purple losing his third, so green was playing from a disadvantage in that aspect as well, making it easier for red to push. See a counter titan here, but alright, teal used Underworld and sent some Colossus through, so blue used a counter Underworld to defend, and he's defending effectively. Meanwhile, he's still keeping his forward Underworld up. Surprised he didn't cast that back a little more, but he probably did it in a panic to save his Titan. He's cleared out teal's Underworld now, so he's gonna go back through and not even lose his Underworld. Yellow, meanwhile, Underworld back into green's base and just finished green's other town center, so green's playing on 0 town centers at this point. Upgrade wise, still just classical for teal, or yellow rather, but he should be upgrading the heroic upgrades at the moment. Just Pierce for blue, which is a bit surprising. He built the 4 armory, so I'm not sure why he hasn't gotten the upgrades for his attack and hack armor. That's gonna be game. Nicely played by TSM, and a smart decision to pull off a water. You could see it early on when they took the early second town centers that they weren't planning on committing to water, whereas TCL made a fairly common mistake in team games, which is the overcommittal to water, especially teal with the 30 arrow ships. It's one thing to commit strongly early on and win it cleanly, but if you can't win it right away, as the game goes on, it becomes less important, especially with the fishing ship raids, because by the time you win it, your team only has like 5 fishing ships left, so you're not even gonna get much, if any, of an advantage from winning water, unless you can stalemate land and get to late game and then use siege ships to kill a town center, but that never came into play.